All right. So, Ashley, thank you for joining us today, taking the time out of your day to meet with us and talk a little bit about your expertise. And, first, I just want you to kind of introduce yourself uh, to the audience and the people out there who may be watching this, and just tell us a little bit about you, about Flair, and what's good, what's going on with Flair, and what are some of the highlights thus far in your guys' year, and what are you guys looking forward to doing?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Ashley Ailstock. I am currently the Director of Channel and Alliances in the Americas for Flare. I have 15 years in cybersecurity, both on the side of being a VAR as well as being on the vendor side in sales and in partnerships. It's a space I truly enjoy. I'm very passionate about, and am very thankful that I landed in the cybersecurity space. I love the people, they're great, and I just couldn't imagine doing anything different with my career. A little bit about Flare. I started at Flare 3 months ago, and I was brought on board to introduce them into the partnerships community. By that, I mean VARs, distribution, technical alliances, and system integrators. So, really all encompassing building a partner ecosystem from really the ground up. When I started, we had zero VAR presence. So
Mhm.
it's really exciting to be working with such a great community at building something really from scratch and seeing the excitement from the community as they get introduced, and also us being able to bring a value to our partners that maybe isn't shown so far on their line card. I love bringing a new technology to the community that I know is going to add them a lot of credibility.
Oh, excellent. Um, any highlights this year thus far? Anything cool happening with Flair? Like, what's going on? Like, what is some of the good news for the streets?
Absolutely. So Flare's a dark web threat platform. So we're really scouring the open and the dark web for nefarious activities against our end users, whether that be in the commercial space, mid-market, all the way to enterprise, state, local government. We are always innovating, and that's one thing I love about the company. We launched a new product this year called Account Session Takeover Prevention, and it basically helps companies with a problem they don't even know they have yet,
Mhm.
where it's very frustrating for our end users in the space because they're constantly buying new technologies and they're being told, hey, this is a new problem you need to solve. Let me help you solve it. It unfortunately is the space that we find ourselves in quite often. And Flare has a new solution that I'm really excited to bring to market. It's getting great reception so far, called Account and Session Takeover Prevention,
Mhm.
which I could take a deep dive anytime you want, but I don't want to scare you too much on this call.
It's all good. So I'd imagine, with managing, a partner program, especially and working in the channel for, a multitude of years, such like you have, I would imagine that you've come across what makes, attracting partners, retaining partners successful, and probably, what kind of leads to, or what some of the pitfalls, to look out for. So for you, what are some of the factors that lead to success with, managing your partners and your partner program?
It really comes down to that it's a mature, like building a mature relationship.
Mhm.
And every aspect you need for a personal relationship, you absolutely need to bring the table to a partnership relationship. You need to have consistency in not only your messaging, your program, but also in your actions. And that has to resonate really from many different levels in the vendor organization directly over to the partner organization. By that, I mean executive leadership relationships, engineer to engineer relationships, and of course, sales reps to sales reps.
And what have you seen? Like, I mean, now you're pretty experienced, but what are some of the pitfalls and some of the reasons why maybe, a partner program may kind of stumble out the blocks and, you know, may have problems being efficient with like turnover and partners not really being active? What are some of the factors that you think lead to just like inefficiencies and just, ineffectiveness with building out a program?
Enablement is extremely important. You have to make sure that your entire ecosystem is enabled. The engineering staff has support to on-demand training so they can constantly, you know, keep their tools sharp. You need
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that the sales team has access to the tools they need to do a streamlined process for deal registration
Mm-hmm.
so they don't feel like there's any unnecessary hiccups in the process of them trying to bring you net new business. We all know that it's hard enough to, you know, get the partnerships mature enough to where they start really bringing you in net new business. That's when you really start to feel that your program is being successful. And throwing a wrench into that by having a deal registration process that is a little bumpy, it really can, make the partner think, oh, do I want to bring them another net
Mm-hmm.
new opportunity? And that is another issue when it comes to partnerships is that you're really looking to have a relationship where it's ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing you want is to have a program in place that it's great to attract partners in for maybe one deal, but then throughout the process, they might see, oh, not that exciting. I didn't make enough money in margin,
Mm-hmm.
right? The,
Mm-hmm.
the alignment needs to be right on. And are they enabled? So if you make sure that you're checking all the boxes to really respect the relationship from the beginning, you'll see that partnership can turn into not just a one-off opportunity, but multiple opportunities down the line. We're really looking to build some relationships that continue to work down the years.
Mhm. So you mentioned, I just want to drill down on a comment you made. You said that sometimes deal registration can get a little bit bumpy. What does bumpy look like in real time, and what are some of the things that lead to, problems with deal registration from your experience?
I've sort of seen it all. Um, I've
Well,
worked
give us the deets. Give us the deets, Ashley.
Well, I worked at a few companies that really were trying to figure out what worked and what didn't. And it wasn't because anybody wasn't doing what they were supposed to, it was just learning experiences. So I've seen, not having a formal deal registration system in place, and that can be a little harder to track, right?
Hmm.
Really important that partners know that their deal registrations are protected. And if they don't, I can't, the way that your emails just roll in, the uneasiness, doesn't matter how long I've been friends with some of these partners that I'm working with, they still need to know at the end of the day that they are protected and they have a formalized process in place.
So when
It's
you say
very important.
protected, I gotta drill down again. So when you say protected, what does it look like when a partner, or why would a partner want to feel like they're protected? What are some of the problems that give rise to this idea of feeling protected or unprotected with a deal registration?
I would say that they've been trained really well because that's their business. So I resonate with that. I completely understand it. And not only have they been trained well by their teams and their experiences, but mature vendors in our space that have successful relationships with the partnership community, they
Mhm.
have done a great job at developing amazing tools to streamline the process. And because of that, any company that I've worked with that's been more of a startup,
Mhm.
they're going to be held to the same standard as those really robust companies that can spend any amount of money they want making this process as best as possible. It's important to remember no matter where your company is in their partnership, um, as they're evolving, you
Mhm.
still need to be providing the partnership community with what they expect.
Mm, mm. And so with providing the partnership community with what they expect, what are some of the tools that you've seen you used that help with enablement and just giving the partner what they need to be successful? Like what have you guys used or what have you seen be effective?
I think that one of the things that is really available for anyone to do at most budgets is developing sales enablement and
Hmm.
building kits. So there's easily accessible information, marketing materials, basically anything that the partners need. I like to keep that information in a partner portal. I
Hmm.
also like to have it as something I could quickly email out if
Hmm.
somebody needs something in a pinch. So there's a lot of different ways to do that, making sure that folks have access to all the information they need, what questions they should be asking,
Hmm.
anything to make their life easier. We're asking these folks who have amazing relationships to take a chance on us and to bring them into their trusted relationships. So the least we can do is really set them out for success and give them all the tools that they need. So that's absolutely one major one I think that any vendor could easily accomplish.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, Now, I've read somewhere, and I kind of just want to get your insight. This is going to be a pretty big question. Um, that there's a lot of transactions that are in the pipeline in the channel, right? A
Mhm.
lot of them, but there's a very low success rate with like closing, sometimes transactions in the channel. What do you think, from your perspective, leads to, sometimes there being a difficulty with getting transactions across the finish line and working with through partnerships?
I think again, like it really comes down to making sure that you're building the relationship and that
Hmm.
your communication doesn't stop. So once a vendor receives a deal registration and the sales reps and the sales engineers have shaken hands,
Hmm.
maybe they've already been and had a qualifying meeting with an end user. That's where the work still needs to keep going. Like the momentum still needs to keep going. The reps need to continually make sure that we are supporting and enabling the partners, or else they have a million other places they need to be, 100 vendors knocking on their door constantly.
Hmm.
We have to make sure that we're taking responsibility for our pipeline and responsibility for that business that we're fortunate enough that they're including us on.
Hmm. How difficult is that though? Like in real time, like when you have some programs, some partner managers manage 30, some manage 50,
Yep.
some have programs up to like, in the thousands. And how do you maintain a cadence and following up with your partners and that relationship? Like for you, like like what sort of tools do you use to keep a cadence and a follow-up cadence and just kind of stay on the top of mind with your partners and foster that relationship development? Like how do you manage that? It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and I do keep a close heartbeat on where the opportunities are. And I make sure that not only, because it takes a village, I make
Hmm.
sure that not only is it, the sales rep and the engineer, but I'm also staying close with the community and the opportunities and making sure they have the support that they need and checking in not only during an opportunity, but also after an opportunity and whether it's closed won or closed lost.
Hmm.
Closed one is great, right? But it's
Hmm.
just as important, if not more important, that if you go into an opportunity together and you're not successful on that one, that you are even working harder with that partner to continue the relationship and move it forward. Because we all know just because you lost one, it doesn't mean that there's not value there. It just
Hmm.
means this still could be a beautiful relationship. Let's go try to find something that works.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, I think, like with losing a transaction, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe there's a reason why, and it gives you time to take a step back and say, oh, what we have done better, differently. Or sometimes you just you just have to hold the L, right? You just have to hold the L. There's only so much you can do. It's just part of the game. But being resilient and being able to bounce back and get back in the marketplace is very important. And if you do have a good relationship with your partner, that's the next step is, all right, let's get back at it, right?
One thing I want to touch on real quick, it's related to what you said earlier in your question, is how do we make sure that we are, you know, keeping touches is what you alluded to, and
Hmm.
having the right people and keeping communication going, and how do we track that? One of the ways that I track that proactively, as I build and support an existing ecosystem, is making sure that we have scalability with our resources and
Hmm.
we have alignment with our sales team and engineering team. So, for example, in my current position where I'm building a partner ecosystem in the Americas pretty much from the ground up, I have to make sure that I'm onboarding partners strategically because I currently, maybe next year will be different, don't have the bandwidth to
Hmm.
support every single VAR in the country. But I do have the bandwidth and resources to support a certain amount of them and give them everything they need. And as we grow that business, I will reinvest that money in them.
Hmm.
I'll also be looking outward to say, how can I replicate the success? And we'll continue to grow the Flare team
Hmm.
for that.
Oh, oh, well, so it sounds like, well, no, I think that's smart, right? Like, don't ever bite off too like more than you can handle. And, in order to drive success, you have to be able to manage what's in front of you. So Ashley, you mentioned that if you could, you would manage all the VARs in the country, but that's almost impossible right now because you need to be able to maintain very valuable, credible relationships with your partners, which means that you have to be sort of selective, right, with the partners that you work with and you engage because you want to make sure that there's success, right? And you
Yes.
want to be authentic. You want to be sincere. You want to be authentic with them. You want to give them the time of day because relationships are it's very important to have a very strong um, foundation of communication. You got to have communication. Um, Now, in a perfect world, right? Let's say we took that partner program that you're managing and we multiplied it by 10, right?
Yes.
And and therefore we would need 10 Ashleys. However, right, from your perspective, like, we all have tasks that we do throughout the day that aren't really revenue generating and you're not on the call with a partner. Like, what are some of the things that you wish you can probably maybe automate, streamline, or do in order to allow you to have more time with interacting with your partners and being more face to face?
Well, I think there's a lot of different tools you can use, especially with the explosion of AI.
Mhm.
I think that, and we're only going to see that mature at such a rapid pace that it already is. Right now, we use tools to help manage our calendars, which has been amazing. I also have a tool to help give me some lift and my current the sales team I support some lift, where as soon as a deal registration comes in through our portal, our AI checks our our database and make sure that there isn't a conflicting opportunity and it immediately approves
Mm,
the op. So I don't have to get an opportunity, spin my some cycles that I could be doing something else, going back and forth with the sales rep, and then having to go in and manually approve something. It might sound a little silly, but when you're on the road a lot and you have a lot of different tasks and are, supporting a nice sized team, it really does help having one less thing to do. And so I see like continuing to implement those sort of strategies so I
mhm,
can focus and the people that I support can continue to focus on doing the good work. I think
mhm.
that that's going to be invaluable.
Yeah, and I think it is because I there is I feel like we need people like you, really good salespeople out there being in front of partners and customers and getting deals done and not behind a computer trying to email, trying to sync up calendars and meetings and just trying to do things that, theoretically could be automated. So it sounds like you guys have some things in place, and but like we're all aware, there's going to be some things that hit the market soon that are really going to help us streamline and be more effective with going to market. Um, so that's fantastic. So I guess so actually like so what else do you guys have going on this year? Are you going to any events? Are you guys hosting anything? Are you guys going to like what's going on with you guys for the rest of the year? What's your next thing on your guys' pipeline insofar as like engage in the marketplace?
Yes, so we are going to be attending RSA, and I'm currently setting up meetings for that. I'll be there with the Flare CEO, and we're really looking forward to continuing to evangelize our message and meeting with partners and distributors and tech alliances. So that's something that I'm really excited about coming up. Besides that, I am, traveling around the country and having meetings about Flare and just looking to support and enable the new partnerships that we are currently building
Mhm.
and those relationships to, you know, have a wonderful ecosystem.
Fantastic. We love that word ecosystem around here. So because it is, it's like there's a lot of
Yeah.
moving pieces. And and that's why we do these podcasts because it's so fascinating just to understand how different practitioners like yourself manage all those moving pieces and all those variables and even adapt to, not adapt, but how you guys deal with the unknown variables, right? The things that you can't control, that are out of your control. How do you incorporate that into like your strategies and your methodologies? So
It really
Ashley,
takes us all. It
huh?
does. I can't tell you how many calls I've been on, when there's been an issue, which, if there wasn't issues and if this was easy, I wouldn't have a job. So I'm thankful. But I can't tell you how many calls I've been on where it's been the VAR, the
Mhm.
my side vendor with the sales rep, distribution, and even sometimes system integrator. And we're all working together because it really takes all of us to help. And that's one thing I really like about the term partner ecosystem. It's not just on one person's shoulders. We all rely on each other.
Yeah, I've heard like in traditional sales, it's like buyer, business and business customer, right? Or service provider client, right? It's bilateral, just just there's just like mostly two parties getting the deal done. When you're working in your particular case, you have a multitude of parties like you just mentioned, right? And it's not even necessarily tiered, right? Some people can say it's like a tiered, like you have your vendor, your service provider, and your customer. No, it's more like a little funky little prism, right? And with a lot of unknown little data points or parties kind of hanging out in the shadows, trying to also get a part of the transaction. So you have a lot of moving pieces. So it's always very fascinating to see how, effective practitioners manage that at scale and what they're doing to be effective because we're here to learn, so
Every day.
every day. So Ashley, do you have any questions for me? And I just want to thank you before we get off this call, but do you have any questions for me?
I just really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you.
Well, thanks for hanging out and sharing with us like your experience and your expertise. We really appreciate it, and I'm pretty sure it's going to it'll be insightful, right, for a host of people, and I'm pretty sure some people will have some things to take away from, or maybe have some questions for you, may reach out to you directly. But we wish you the best of success. I believe you're going to do just fine. You have an awesome personality. You really know your business in and out, and you got a good grip and handle on things on your end.
Oh my gosh, I really appreciate you saying that. It's so nice. It's just been a joy working with you. And again, like I look forward to building a great long-term relationship with you and exemplify.
Okay, well, we'll be in touch, and you have yourself a fantastic afternoon.
I will, you too.
All right. All right.
Bye.